in what may be sort of the key last stock round type where anything significant is going to happen. It's hard to tell because if people end up with a lot of cash on hand, someone may start a corporation and just slap an 8-train down on it and make some cash off of it, you know. I gotta worry about certificate limits just to make sure. It's 9, which is way more than people have right now, and there aren't a lot of stocks that are out that are really available. So this guy opened up and got a huge advantage. Priority jumps on. Usually you don't see a single share of something so massive kicking around in a game. Some of this could be my inexperience, but people didn't have much money, and one share was bought up by a corporation. The other share went into his hand with priority, and they're just, you know, it really is going to be a big money maker. There's not a lot else out there, right? There are these pink guys, which this guy bought one of, and they're feeding money into it. It doesn't have a whole hell of a lot of money, but at $160 a pop, I'm not sure if it's going to be able to make it or not. This guy here does not want that to get close to a train. That's the problem. And putting all that extra money in means that it might be able to swallow and get a train. But on the other hand, if I don't buy the share, somebody else is going to. It's not going to just sit out there not taken. So I think I'm going to buy it with him, even though it's in his best interest to prevent that from getting closer to being able to buy the 8 train. The 8 train's expensive, $14.50. I don't think I've seen anything quite that expensive in a game. I'm not positive. But, yeah. And then I also know that this, the way it's operating, is going to feed a train into the green eventually. So we may come to the point where it looks like the bank may break, and then all the 5s go away. So at this point, the real question comes down to, does anybody think they can do something with this to crash the game and save themselves, something that would be of value? Or it's such a hard thing to do because this can't be filled out and connected quickly. If we'd built closer to that, then it would be potent. Who's that pale green stuff? Does that corporation exist? Oh, shit. That's this thing. Well, so a lot of people have access to that space. People would have been able to run through that. Another oops. This looks like it's the same damn company. What happened? I don't know what it went into that. Oh, Jesus. Wow. Another big screw up. Because if that went into the CTS, I don't think it did. I don't know what ate that. Something he held. Wait, no, that's not the same, is it? I can't tell what these companies are. This is the Azienda. That sounds like something that got like temporarily put on the board for maybe during one of those weird mergers. Maybe during, I don't know. Maybe in the... God damn it. Alright, well. These can't all be that. I can't tell. ATFA. This looks like something different. ATFA. How many tokens does this thing have? Yeah. Alright. Well, I'm just going to remove these. I don't know what happened. But, yep, another screw up. because I do not see that corporation in existence, and this, I bet you, the only thing I can think of is this is the thing that went into the CTS. The CTS doesn't have another token, and where are all their tokens? They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This doesn't exist. That one wasn't affecting anyone. So yeah, I kind of wanted these two, but this would not have stayed open. Well, mark it up to another screw up that, you know, has a significant effect on the game, I guess. I think what I'm going to do is I may move this token over here. That would have kept that block in place, and the CTS didn't really need that token. I slapped that down long after the conversion happened, and certainly would have grabbed this token earlier. There have been cases where I would have wanted to use this with the CTS, but I think this is the fairest of the options to take for fixing that. Now, this guy definitely wanted to buy one of those pinks to try to get it up boosted. This guy had a hard call though. He considered the pale blue. Merger. He could actually end up getting a little bit of extra value on his own certificates for it. But the pink seemed like too good an idea. He thought maybe the pale blue will go by, he'll get another shot at it. No. This guy's been eyeing it all along. Thought long and hard about what's going to happen. It's a merger. If I can buy enough of the pale blues, it actually becomes a worthwhile thing. And what's kind of cool is I don't go down for being here. I'm on the ledge. So it's not a big deal if there are certificates out in the pool, and I can buy them up. And if somebody else buys the corporation, buys a couple of shares of the corporation, all kinds of ugly things could happen, right? How much? Hard to tell, because there's going to be 3 operating rounds. So we're not going to, you know, I'm not going to be tossing this 5 train back and forth or anything like that. But it's really hard to tell whether there's something valuable I could do. Like, what happens if I buy all those shares into here? No, because I don't get a chance to sell. So I think the merger is pretty much guaranteed at this point, if he's doing that. And there's plenty of money. There's no problem getting the 8 train there. The dots are actually an important part of this consideration, because pink is limited very heavily. And if they're getting an 8 train, well, they're going to want the dots, and not taking a hit on stock value, it seems like a win-win situation for them. Pale yellow is not in too different a situation. They've got this locked up, but could really use these extra blue tokens. So they may have passed on what they should have done. Suckers went around with like hotcakes. Everybody bought them. But nobody went for a second one. And there's a reason for this. So this guy doesn't have a corporation, so he can't merge it with something. He'd be screwed. Likewise, this guy has the green corporation. He could merge it with that, but it doesn't add much to the green corporation. If anything. Green's got a nice dot set up as it is. And this might be nice, but it just doesn't seem worth the hassle. I've got this really nice setup right now with this minor corporation. All that extra money could be useful, but I didn't want to chance it. But now I come around to yellow, and yellow is the guy who does want to chance it. His feeling is, hey, I missed out on an opportunity there. So he is going to buy the final share of this sucker, and it's going to actually sell out. Still thinks he's doing the right thing by merging with it. He's going to get a permanent train that he wouldn't get otherwise. This guy might have been able to get a second train, and 2 trains on 1 corporation makes sense. This guy would have been able to, but like I said, he's got a sweet deal already. Why water down his stock a little bit? Because he's not going to get a big percentage. So that's where the harm is. Pink here is going to lose some stock value on some of his shares. Sort of, right? You gain stock value. So if you have equal shares of both, you break even. If you have you're not really losing you're not actually losing any stock value. It's just that your stock average value is less. So it's not that terrible a thing, except we're actually going to end up above the 250 with pink. Yellow would not have been in this problem, and green would not have been in this problem. Ending up above the 250 means I do actually lose a little bit of stock value off of the pairing up, but that's okay, because this is my route to saving my corporation. And this puts orange over here in a really, really bad position, but there wasn't anything he could do about it. Actually, we've sold out on everything. Now, you might be asking yourself, wow, if there's that much money around, why aren't new corporations being started? Well, because the minimum you can start it at is really 340. And you need 6 shares, maybe 5. Maybe you can get away with 5. But nobody had the $1,500 in cash without liquidating. And in general, across the board, the things they liquidate are good things, right? The only exception to that is this, which looks like it's going to be kind of healthy anyway. It could have made a permanent train on a swallow anyhow. It's kind of interested in those dots, which means we pump forward into the operating round. And, you know, one of the things, the counters on this are so hard to distinguish. That's where I'm running into problems. The counters, the shares, but the shares are set up in such a way so that most of the historical corporations have colors that match ahistorical corporations. The historicals, if you're going to be getting into the ahistoricals, you can probably dump. It probably means that the historicals can be dumped. So like the green that was here becomes this green or whatever, but the blur on the map of all these handmade counters, really, I'm pasting the sticker. I had to glue the sticker onto the counter sheet. That's part of the game kit that comes. This is not the Deep Thought kit, which I think is probably actual stickers or something, and probably better appearance. I haven't looked at it. I thought, well, I'm interested in the game, but you know, I'd probably been better off buying sort of the deluxe version of the Deep Thought copy of this. It's making me rethink my 1817 order, which I went with. I was going with unlaminated cards. I think I want laminated cards, to tell you the truth. But then I don't have a paper cutter, so I'll have to try to do it with a razor or something. I don't know. That's going to be painful too. Alrighty. Luckily I got this at a fairly cheap price. You know, the cost of a normal new game rather than the cost that 18xx games kind of go for. So I guess we start this round and we see what happens, because I don't think this is going to be the final set of operating rounds. Or I don't think things are going to end rapidly on this, because all this extra money going into here. And Pink, after doing the merger, is going to have a strong company. Are they really going to want to spend effort and money to hook this up? Well, maybe. Maybe if they end up with only one train and can't get anywhere else, maybe they'll spend the track lays to get in there and just say they saved themselves and try to polish it off that way. But if it doesn't, it's the bank that has to go, right? Well, no. This sucker's not too far from there. This isn't going to last long no matter what. We're talking 4 operating rounds. And we'd probably like to break it before they kill things with those 4 operating rounds for any of the other corporation owners. For the simple fact that if it reaches here, that corporation gets the only run. Long, long ago, and these weird track segments are at fault here. Someone laid this track, and it has never been used, so it doesn't really affect much, but it couldn't have been laid, right? you can't come down and cut this way. There's nothing special in this game in that sense. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out how to use this 7 and 5 train. My eventual hope is the 8 and the 7. I'll be cutting down from over here. 1, 2, 3. I could skip that with the 8, 4, 5, 6, and I guess 7, 8 there. And God knows with the 7, because right now the 5 is actually running this little route here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a little bit of room maybe somewhere. I could like hook in here and come around or something. And that would get me to 6. And then there's another one down here. Plus a lot of doinkers in there. The net of all this is a 970 run. Now here's the problem. I get to go up because of these little arrows, but I'm up against that wall. I can't go forward until an 8 train is there. I have almost enough money to buy an 8 train, so I'm not going to swallow. If I had another corporation or something, yeah, I would, but this is all I got. So we'll do what we can and pay that sucker out. And that's going to give some decent money, yeah, to other players too. I don't have much of this thing, and that company gets $100 basically. So pink and blue have now merged, and I need this dot. I have an extra dot over on the corporation. I wasn't sure. See, I wasn't sure I wanted this one though. That's the problem. So let me think about that. That's how dots get left behind, is in these mergers. This is important because it allows me to run up here and then out here. Where would I want another dot? Well, the other place that's of importance to me is down here. But I need both of these to get through from Lyon if I end up hooking it up, or Marseille. Hey, Marseille's not hooked up either. Interesting. Maybe I'll hook up Lyon for money, because that's an incredible run, a $200 run like Rome is. I have a lot of cash on this corporation. Almost enough for 2 trains, but not quite. Which is to say, I may be able to swallow and buy that 2nd train or something like that. As the gatekeeper of this, that might be the best move. But there's the danger, if I do want to hook this up, that I'm causing a problem. You can see share totals dropped quite a bit. I lost some money off of the pink shares, but that's okay. It's spread out all over the place. And a couple of people took cash as well for their extra certificates. There are a couple of them were able to convert though. These 2 were conversions from single certificates upward by paying the cash. It's clear the thing's going to make money. This puts a time limit though. I can't buy a train right away. Train buying happens before the mergers, which means this guy has one more chance to at least sell this at full value. Which is a big deal, because if that train could have been bought at this point, it would crash him, and then he'd be selling at half value, and that's a big chunk of change. It's nearly $200, but whatever. And he didn't want to screw around and do a swallow. It might make sense. It might have made sense actually, because next round he's counting on being able to run this and pay out again and then buy the train and not have to do the swallow. So no, it wouldn't make sense. He wants to boost his stock value, although that stock value may not have mattered on this turn, but he also wants to collect the cash. He was running pink, which he had a lot of shares of, so he got some fair money off of it. Nothing great. That puts us to the next interesting line, which is green, who has this feeder. And we'll see what he can do with that. It's an interesting thing. Everybody held that Da Vinci line because they've got stock certificate limit to spare it, and it's only worth $30. If the game comes down to $30, or less than that really, but if the game comes down to about 30 bucks, I'll be shocked, right? It's possible the chaotic games come close. I remember playing one that ended up tied. That was one of the most chaotic games I've ever seen of XX, but it just doesn't seem worth throwing that certificate out there when it does create, when it has a permanent train on it, and it will possibly create some money at some point. We're not sure when, but that extra certificate seems like it could be something of some value. Jiggled trains too much, which is this. I guess it's okay that this thing's still running, and it's swallowed. The interesting guy, this guy that we were talking about before, paid to build up to here. He can't really use it with the 5 train. He is worried that the 8 train's coming out. He assumes it is, so he's going to crash. So he sold his stock. He has enough cash on hand to buy, but he's not allowed to because he only had the cash on hand after selling that stock certificate. So that pushes us to the second operating round. And we can see the CTS evened out its score again, which is good because it's going to run again without being able to buy that train. Okay, and red is the second company running, and you can see they bought the first 8 train. That clears out a couple of trains. Who had it? This guy who's been waiting for an unblock, and this guy who has enough cash, was kind of hoping he'd be able to make the run, but he knew he wouldn't. Almost enough money for another train. I think what it means is a swallow to pick up that train, but that's a hard call. Yeah, basically, the choice is between the swallow and trying to end the game this way. Too many track lights going this way. I only get 1 per turn because it's late in the game. I'll be running down from Marseille up to, I think, up here with the red, unless the cut down here works. But it was vital to try to start hooking this thing up because I'll be coming up this way, and I'm hitting a bunch of doinkers over there, which is cool because they don't count. What else is cool is once Marseille is hooked up, there's another doinker there. I won't be getting the port, which I kind of like, but, and yeah, it looks pretty. It looks like a pretty sweet run for 1/8. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with 2 8s, but I have a fair number of dots. I'll figure something out. There's not a lot of dot congestion. There's like a block here. This obviously is a mess, and then right here and here, and I can bypass this one by cutting down, through here. There aren't a lot of dots available to corporations. I don't think a single one is there. So as long as nobody starts anything, I'm safe. But well, somebody might start something. People have a lot of cash on hand. The danger with starting a corporation, well, it's not like 1830. The money goes in the corporate treasury. So it's not like I'm taking money out of the bank for that. These 8 trains are taking out big chunks of change, though. And this guy, who I was thinking, well, he's going to advance, right? Yeah, he's been kind of bouncing around because people are selling his stock and shit. So the game is not going to be over as quickly as people who wanted a faster finish hoped for. He's probably fine with that because he's going to be getting another train, too. The thing is, he only has 30% of his corporation. So, all right, orange starts to set track up so that it can get into this rich area now that it has a big enough train. It's really kind of cut off in a lot of ways, but I can run this way or this way and then down into here. I'm not sure. I have the advantage of being able to chunk over these guys for free with the big 8 train. That's kind of cool. This is such a weird corporation because I have no investment in it, right? I ended up selling the CTS share because I believe I'm going to have to juggle its train no matter what. Now, I'm going to make sure not to lose any money off of green. Green's going to keep running and make its cash, but what I need to do for that is, I believe, because this can only hold one train, is buy the 7 train over to there. See, the problem is I don't know what the hell to do with that thing. It may be merger bait, which is to say it makes so much money that I can start a corporation and merge my corporation with that held corporation and get something really decent out of it, as opposed to, and it's got the dots at once and everything, you know, just starting another corporation to get some of the shares into my own hands as opposed to all in my corporation's hands, which is kind of a weird mechanism, but I don't really care what the value of this is then, except that all those shares that I buy that get converted in the merge, however many there are going to be hurt. But this thing could actually do some kind of neat stuff. It's got a ton of cash on it. A merge makes me a major corporation, which gives me slot for another train so I can juggle them. Because here's the thing, if I sell this train over here, then, okay, I swallow once more, my price keeps dropping, and I end up with an 8 train over here, which is not really what I want to do, but once I get a major corporation, if I can manage to do that, and I should have the cash, that I can build another miner and merge it into that, then I have more dots to play with. I got to be careful not to cut what I need for green, and I have, which maybe I can do by like building a dot here or something. I don't know. It doesn't look like there's a way out this way that's easy though, so I really don't know what's going to happen there. But yeah, I mean, there's so many flexible, weird options you have to manipulate these corporations that what looks like a kind of loser situation, which is, okay, I got this corporation, it's producing money. If I pay out, it throws money into there and gets me nothing. If I swallow, it doesn't pay into there, it gets itself money, and it has nothing to do with it. And that corporation's not going to either. I'm going to have 3 big trains. So I think I really do need to work on a merger to get some of the value that this thing actually has into something. But I'm going to take a bath on the share price, right? Because this gets averaged with whatever I start with. If I start low, though, I mean, it's got a permanent train, right? It'll start making me money at least, and yeah, I think I got to do something. It's just before I kind of kick off probably for the night. I don't think I can finish this one. Assess some of the players' positions. So this guy's in kind of a iffy place. There's no question of that. He's got worse shareholdings than this guy. Clearly, he's riding along with him. I don't know what the hell he can do. But he has no control over the world. All he can do is buy shares. He's hoping for the game to end, but whatever. This guy over here is also in kind of a loser position. He's been swallowing and trying to stay alive for a while. And it's not like he has a terrible holding, but it's clear that he's in worse shape than other people. He would probably like the game to end too. Doesn't really have any control over the matter, though. That's only controlled by red and white. Red and white, unfortunately. Well, not only. There's a possibility like yellow could get up here, and that's probably what he's going to want to do. Now, I don't know if he has enough money to do that. No. He's got money. Yellow definitely wants the game to end. He's stuck on a 6 train with very little opportunity for any kind of growth. The only thing he could do is maybe arrange a merger or start a new corporation. One which probably doesn't have very high prospects. I guess I could start down here. Just get a nice stuff here. This is all very open. I could dot the shit out of stuff and cause problems, but dots are expensive. I gotta buy a big train. Yeah. Okay. Over here. So red is set up for a second 8 train, I think. He wants the game to go for a while. So obviously, as one of the people kind of controlling this, he's not going to look kindly on any attempt to close out Leon. He's certainly not going to help do it. This guy over here, just an investor at this point. Again, not holding a terribly good set of holdings. This is some slice of that. This isn't bad. This, I mean, it's crap, right? And then this guy over here, who's also looking at the possibility of many trains. What's hard to judge is between the people who have a lot of trains, which one's set up to do best in a longer game. Obviously, though, this guy wants to just run to the top because there's high stock value in increments the further along you get, as in most of the XX games. You know, he doesn't want it to end early. So it's more of a question between red and green. Well, they're both playing for a long game, but maybe not in as strong a position to do so. But green has 50% of his corporation, whereas this guy has 30%. You know, that's a big difference. That's a big difference if you're talking a 2-train situation. Plus, he has this weird option available. Anyway, that's just some thoughts before I kind of kick off tonight. A couple of interesting things happen over here. Well, nothing too interesting. This is the third operated ground, I think. I have the bad habit of not being sure which way to run things, and I think I've done 2 previously. And then at the end of last night, I moved it back to indicate the third, one away from. And this game, I've been moving it forward all the time. So I reset it in the morning, and I'm not positive. Yell at me if I'm wrong, but there's so much wrong going on in this. Anyway, white picked up the 8 train after making like a 61 run or something like that off their 7, which is not bad at all. They have so many dots and everything. And red upgrading their key location here. And they bought, for just about all their money, the 7 train here. Now, the Da Vinci is like just was a couple bucks short of buying an 8 train. But with what I'm planning on doing, I think I'm going to get 2 8 trains on its successor. And I can't calculate out at this point whether or not this is going to succeed. So I just threw all my cash in here. There's not a lot you can use cash for in this game. If red wants to end the game, they could blast their way through this. Cash would be useful for that. But they're setting themselves up in a position where they believe they're going to be making more money, the player who owns red, than anyone like white. So it'll be up to white, and they have enough cash to blast their way through too. So if the game is going to end that way, it's going to be white forcing the issue. If the game's going to end due to stock value, which is the most likely, white's just going to keep paying out. And nobody's going to sell the shares anymore. There's no corporations holding the certificates. Yeah. It's quite possible Da Vinci will buy it. The problem with Da Vinci buying that is they can't get 2 trains right away if they do buy it. But it is a mechanism by which these corporations are foiling this thing's ability to move forward and end the game. Especially when a corporation, you know, sells it in one round, another one picks it up, sells it in the next round. It's just getting dumped, you know, it's failing to move forward each round because of that. Now, it's not getting sold this round, but it might be getting bought in preparation to knock it down another step. That's what I get for walking away, for being away. I gotta undo this. Red is running. They have a pile of money. I'm not sure I should have sold out. They're not the ones holding the certificate there. I've got these too close together, so I thought that was the situation. So I've got to fish the money out of the Da Vinci, which, yeah, this is not what I thought was happening. I was like, oh, yeah, that's not going to happen. So all that is false, and I may end up swallowing this money. I thought I'd be able to make this on one swallow and get the next train. It's not going to be the case. I'm a little bit short. I think I'm right around 1,400. Now, it's a possibility I'm paying out no matter what. It's a possibility I can make an offer to a company like this, who's not in great shape, but that's the equivalent to a swallow to take their train away. So I don't think anybody's going to be able to or willing to work with him on this, which means I don't know what it means. Where's priority? It's sitting with me, which means this certificate is mine if I want it, and I obviously do. So I'm not going to buy it into my corporation. Some other corporation might. But there would have been an incentive to use my cash to buy that into the corporation if that was the case. God, I got a lot of money. I may be starting another corporation. It's possible also that I'll be using this money to build through to there. But I'm not going to start that now. I've got a compact run that I believe doesn't even go through there. I don't remember. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it does. All right. Green paid out, and I'm finding these the prices. Stocks usually move forward. It's only at the very beginning of the corporation that they seem to have trouble getting started. When there's, you know, not a lot of track laid or whatever, they have trouble moving forward. But it's really not affecting much, and it may be it may have affected my mind more than it affected the actual play of the game, the actual values of the game. Because here, you know, I'm making 56 a share. 560 bucks. I can hit all the way to the top with that. And late in the game, with the track that exists in this game and the high valued things, that's not a terribly big run at all. I mean, I'm doing that off a single lowest permanent train. That's what I'm going to hit late in the game. Yes, I'm going through some particularly valuable things, but there's a lot of particularly valuable things on this track. There's not a lot of, I really need to dominate stuff later in the game. Milan's big early, but it stops being quite as big a deal as the values go up everywhere else as these off-map places get high. So now I come to this troubling thing, and we're trying to replay this. Because green is the one making the choice here. And here's the problem, and I think I described this last night. It's hard to tell because I've been shopping and taking a nap since then. But I don't really want an 8 train on that thing, because that runs 1, 2, call it 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5. I could get up to 6.5, but really a 7 train is the biggest I want on there. Now, I don't have the capability to juggle trains terribly much. What I think I want to do is I want to sell the 7 train for some amount, it doesn't matter what, because this is going to then buy the 6 train for much of the money, but not all of it, because if I'm merging this into another corporation, I may end up with enough money to get that 8 train anyway. So I want to leave some cash on hand for that if possible. So we finish up the operating round. This guy actually did pretty well. Now that he has an 8 train, he's running from here down to here for 62. Note that mountain passes do expand to a double space. It still doesn't produce anything, but with an 8 train, he's running through 2 mountain passes. Neither one hurts him. He's able to hit 8 cities. So he's got a slightly better run than maybe some of the other permanent train guys do. It's not terribly good, but for not having any of the dots over here, he's pulling in some decent money. More importantly, he's sitting on 60%. So, you know, he's getting, what was it, 62? He got 372 bucks, which is a pretty nice payout for, you know, what doesn't look like a huge quantity of shares. And it's not in terms of share value, it's garbage. He's got like 300 bucks worth of shares there. He's making more money each round. This final one, I paid enough to buy the 8 train over to the green train. It's no big deal the price share value goes down. I'm not getting rid of that, presumably. I mean, I couldn't transfer the money. The only way there was no way to transfer the money because of the number of trains in operation. Now I've got enough money, I get a second train, so now I've got 3 trains. I'm full up on those corporations, but I am planning on trying to turn this corporation into something that I hold myself. And let's see. I think we got time to do the next set of operating rounds, etc. on a video. It may be a long one. None of the remaining corporations had the time. Greenhead was the only one with the money to pick this up. So the guy over here running the presidency of the red, who chose not to buy it, ends up getting the bonus of getting that awesome share. It's probably not worth selling reasonable shares to try to pick up a corporation. We're only going through 3 operating rounds this next time. Whatever corporation starts, it may make some money, but it's not going to make a lot. It gets set back the first operating round, etc. Now, if you got the money kicking around though, it is worth investing. Unfortunately, this guy has like 1,300 and something bucks. It's not enough. He can't start a corporation on his own. But he might be able to convince someone else to start a corporation. Simply, you know, it's just a matter of having some place to invest the money, because that awesome share I was talking about, one of the reasons it's awesome is there's nothing else left. Now we know that there's going to be another corporation showing up to take the Da Vinci under its wing, which of course makes these guys kind of happy because they're just losing money under it. And if it starts producing instead of swallowing every time, and it would just swallow every time if it stayed in this position, because there's no reason to give money to other players when you're not getting a share of it. The only reason to run it would be to put money into his treasury, which, you know, if I was short a train, yeah, it would make sense. But so the question is, can I find someone who will work with me to start a corporation, who cares? This guy probably cares. He's got a ton of money. He doesn't know what to invest. So if we can get an agreement between the two, and I can't see why they wouldn't, we'll start a corporation kind of at the high end of things and try to figure out where to put it. Where to put it's a hard call, because all I really need is 1 dot, but it's like, you know, it's going to be a $200 dot probably. Green, this guy was able to start it, but only at 216. The numbers didn't work right for him at 340. It's still enough cash that he was actually able to buy a couple of dots, assuming that he doesn't get screwed over there. If he does get screwed over, he's just demolished, but no one's terribly in the mood to do that. Everybody's going to gain money off of this who buys into it. And this guy is not in the lead. This guy's in a more problematic position, though. He might be in the lead. You know, I don't have a firm enough grasp to just look and say, and I don't really want to calculate too much. But he's got a ton of money on his hands. 1,600 and something, I think. Enough that if he could invest it all, he could buy the 8 train and the dot. But he just can't quite. He can get 4 shares at 340, I think it is. I don't remember whatever it worked out to. He's just like 10% off of getting all of his money invested at $340. But $340 off means that he can't start the corporation. I mean, if he was a tiny fraction, you know, he can't go back a whole share's worth. He was very close to the edge in terms of what he was paying here. He has 1,600 and something, which means this is 1,450. He's got $200 for one dot. That's it. You know. Oh, by the way, our dot's here for the yellow one, which is a really kind of dicky dot. And these each cost 200. So he's got 2 extra dots. And he's going to kind of clutter up the board and cause some problems for people. That's maybe part of his goal. But anyway, this pass is very appealing. This pass is appealing. Really shut down some other people's holdings. Of course, it doesn't really work because this corporation is one of the big worry monsters. But, you know, if we can keep green from getting down here, that's worth something. Orange, who's not really my competition here, is using that route pretty heavily with their 8 train. They're going to get hurt by this, but, you know, that's life. They don't have a dot, and they have no way of getting, you know, fixing this. All they can do is maybe build a corporation that starts a dot there, that ends up getting a dot there ahead of that thing, which doesn't really do anything except hurt that corporation, which isn't terribly in our mood. Anyway, nobody's probably going to work with this guy. If I calculated out everybody's net worth, etc., people could look and say, well, you know, is he in a great position? But he's in a good enough position. Nobody's going to help him with this. So I think he's just screwed. He can buy 7 shares at $2.16, except he can't own 7 shares, and 6 shares only gets him at $12.96. 7 shares wouldn't do it either. But he has to pay at least $100 for a dot, and unless he has somebody go along with him, he can't. So what he may do is just buy a certificate of this, because he thinks those are going to run out. He heard a deal. This guy's already got 40%. Now this kind of hurts the guy who made the deal, right? Except that guy might join in other deals. Much as this guy's in favor of closing that pass off to other people, he's not terribly thrilled with the idea of someone else getting it. So for $340 a share, he's able to jump in, get his first play, put into here. This is not a very useful dot, but it only costs me $100 for each dot, so I can afford an extra dot. I have enough money for a train. I can put that extra dot in here. I'll be getting it my run before that dark yellow goes, so I'll be closing it off. There are no other... oh shit. I forgot about what he's supposed to do. There are no other open dots. So let me go back and fix his situation, because he needs to get that Da Vinci running. So I have to figure out what I'm doing with that, and it probably doesn't involve putting $216 into this treasury. It works out fine for him, so I'm not going to worry about it. He does grab that share. So anyway, what this guy's doing is just really kind of dicking people over. He's starting another corporation. It's not going to make him a lot of money, but it's going to make him some. He might have been better off on a per share basis getting these yellow ones, because they're going to run for more, but he's got a ton of money, not an amount that he can invest in that thing. You know, if he gets one certificate, yeah, he's got one guaranteed, but if he got 2 certificates, that would be very lucky under this circumstance. Whereas here, he's going to get, well, he's already got 40% of the company. He's probably going to get 60%. People are going to buy it probably, but nobody's as excited about it. Although maybe it's actually better because it jumps in, so people have to think which one do they want to go for. But either way, I get 40% instead of 2 shares. If the yellow ends up degraded in expectations, then I get shares of that instead, so I get something. And that's kind of an important factor in all of this, is who's going to get to scoop up these suckers. Now, we're at 9 certificate limit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I gotta be careful. People are getting close to their certificate limits here. We're still at 9. It doesn't make a difference that somebody dropped out of the game. All right. Let's see this poor guy. After looking at this guy's position here, I'm reconsidering that merger with the Da Vinci. I don't see a point to it. I have to spend $144 a share on it, a certificate. So I'm not going to put a lot of money in here, not enough that I'm going to be able to get another train. And what's going to happen is my certificate that was worth $144 is going to become worth $80. I'm going to lose $60 a share on every certificate that I buy of this, because they merge upward. Well, they merge in pairs, but my shares come in 20% blocks, so that doesn't really affect. It's just that the net effect of the shares that I end up with are going to be significantly less valuable. I don't think I can make that money up in the 3 operating rounds that are left. So I'm going to continue by investing in other people's stuff. I will be getting the second train on here. It's done its job for that. Da Vinci, you know, it's just going to swallow and throw money in there. If that money is useful to me, well, it's just going to swallow and take the money itself, because that money may be useful if I have some track lays I want to make, although I can't really imagine a hell of a lot that I want to do for green. I could buy to get out of here. I hope I paid the $50 to upgrade that. Whoever did it. I think Orange did it, and I'm not sure that they paid. Let's get there. I don't know. It won't matter one way or another. Okay. So, yeah, I'm just going to start investing in the stuff that's available and not worry about starting this new miner to try to make some money off of that thing. But you could see where in a longer game that concept would still work, because I mean, as it is, I'm not hurting myself any by having these shares, right? But in a longer game, I'd be able to get enough runs, but my runs are going to be, I don't know, say they're 50 runs. Let's see what we look at. I'm going to get 2 of them, and my stock actually goes down a little bit, but then it goes up, so who knows. Because the company has to start, so it drops down to here. So the stock value that I get off of it is 245 and divided by 2. So I'm losing, that can't be right, 245 is not right. 145 divided by 2, yeah. So I'm going to be around 72. So I'm losing like half my stock value immediately on it. But how much money would it make per share? So I'm going to have 60 per, well, it doesn't really matter. It's the per share. So if it makes 50 a share, this is what's hard, is trying to figure out, you know, and I'm making a big deal because I'm losing $70 on that first run. Well, I'll come out slightly ahead, but it's more important, I think, to get something that's gonna just produce. And let me see how many certificates I have here. 1, 2, 6, 7. So I have room for 2 certificates, which is what this weird little thing would cost me. But if there are other corporations out there, I'm going to make money off them because they're not being merged, to the best of my knowledge. And if they are, I'm not sure that's bad. So this is a major. If it's getting merged with something, well, yeah, my stock values will get hosed, but so will whoever made it. And the other one even more so. And I'm pretty sure he's not going to merge it because he's in the running for the game. So I'm probably better off buying those certificates because I'm not going to take that big dump. I'm going to make money off them. I'd make money off this too, but you know, if I made this new company, but I think I'll make more off of the investments that people are actually running normally, and I can just let this thing do whatever it does. Tank its value because it takes other people down with it. I guess it's all settled out here. What happened? Well, everything's sold out, basically. You know, everybody wanted to buy those shares. This guy actually said, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got 9 certificates. He sold his Da Vinci so he could pick up one of these more likely producers. No, you know, this guy may have been making threats. Now he's got a certificate in Da Vinci because he's pretty sure he wouldn't have gotten another green certificate. He would have gotten a yellow one, whatever. It's hard to tell. Anyway, the choice was made here to dump the Da Vinci and move forward. And that means everything is sold out, so everything goes up. Now these guys don't slide or anything in this game. They just ram up against the top. And the Da Vinci's back up to 16 bucks a share. But it's going to make decent money. It's just, you know, it's not going to make any share value. But the thing is, it's also not going back, which a couple of those newer ones are. So like this is going to go to here where it actually is still making money. This guy is not gaining any ground, so he's kind of screwed. All right. Let me make sure about that not moving diagonally. I don't think there was anything about it. I'll tell you what, I'll come back, I'll tell you at the beginning of the operating round if I was wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that I'm right, and I'll send this one up for now.